man made. Why must I chase the cat?
Good evening and welcome to Pound Posse Presents. See, it's not just me loving the music, is it?
No,
it's good music, right? Wow, okay, I've got some headbanging going on to my music there. Anyway, it's another Saturday night here at Sky 13. It's been a dreary, rainy week. Really kind of no fun. I don't know where spring didn't sprung, that's for sure. But anyway, there's been a lot going on this past week and a lot coming up this next week. So I'm going to try to cover everything the best I can. The most exciting, it's tough. I've got two exciting things to report. But we'll start with Desmond's Law, which I have been going on and on about for weeks. And, you know, it's been in the works for years. It had passed the House and had just to pass the Senate, and this week it did. So now it goes to the governor's desk to be signed, which is just an amazing, amazing thing. So many people, and I keep saying this, worked so hard, rolled up their sleeves, did everything they could each and every day for the last 3 years to try to make this happen. And it's just such a victory. Granted, they had to amend it. It got, some resistance, and there were people who just are never going to be on board. But that's life. Desmond's Law, as for anybody who doesn't know by now, because, I go on about it all the time, talk about it on the show, I write about it, I post about it on Facebook. When there is an animal who is abused or neglected and the case goes to court, which, if all of them could, that would be wonderful, but, unfortunately, they don't always get caught. But when you get to court, it's not going to be such a slam dunk where, like Desmond's abuser got off with a slap on the wrist. There's going to be an advocate appointed on behalf of the animal. So it's like it would be like, I can only imagine, to be like having that animal being able to finally speak for itself. There's, I'm sure, going to be some kinks to work out. There's going to be a system put in place. The lawmakers were afraid that this was going to be something that was going to cost the state money. And, God forbid, we're in enough trouble in this state. But it's going to be law students donating their time. So it doesn't get any better than that. If you've got, an eager young cadet, so to speak, who is into animal law, this not only gets them the opportunity to cut their teeth and get the court experience that they need to advance their career, but it allows their passion to translate into the courtroom and represent the animal who really, what chance does the animal have? We see it over and over and over again. People are getting off with these ridiculous little slaps on the wrists for the most heinous of crimes. So, kudos to the lawmakers who supported it. Kudos to the people who sent their emails, made their phone calls, contacted their lawmakers, and followed through on this each and every time it came up. Together, Desmond's Army did it. What I wrote in my column this week was that, there was no one to protect him when he was alive, but in death he gained an army, and he didn't die in vain. Nothing can bring him back, no one can take back the past, but his army did the trick. And, for that, I'm grateful, and I know that, again, there are so many people that did so much, And, they deserve that round of applause and that pat on the back. And, that's never why anybody does anything. Or it shouldn't be why you do anything, for the attention and the pat on the back and the applause. It's for the cause if you're in it for the right reason. And I know that, while there's like the victory dance going on and everything, it's not about the victory dance. It's about helping the animals, which is what it should be. And just as I'm sitting here thinking about this, Puppy Doe's abuser had a day in court this week, and he, I guess, is going to be back in court on October 11th. I think that's when his trial starts. So I'm all about the date because that's my mother's birthday. And if we can summon her for a little, the stories I could tell you about my mother. She's from beyond, has done some pretty amazing stuff, and actually made a court appearance too, I'm not going to lie. But anyway, October 11th is the next date to follow for the Puppy Doe case. And, I hope that justice is served in Massachusetts, because that was truly one of the most horrible things I think that we've all seen in a very long time. So let's just hope that there is justice for Puppy Doe. And yes, I'm still wearing my bracelet for Puppy Doe. Anyway, speaking of court, we've got another big one coming up. You've all heard me talk about Kato and Kleo. I've written about them, again, posted them on Facebook. Kato and Kleo, what a story. On October 3rd, 2012, they were let out of their yard, and there was construction going on. The neighborhood was, going through some changes. They didn't live in a great neighborhood, but the mischief, the criminal intent, whatever was there, and someone let them out of the yard. So of course, dogs let out of the yard, they're going to go check things out. One thing led to another. They ended up down the street with Kim, their mom, like right on their heels. Things happened so fast. There was suddenly a crowd. It's the kind of place where people are hanging out on the street and in storefronts, and these two dogs come, and there's a little kid in the yard. The kid screamed because the dogs run up to her. The dogs didn't do anything to the kid. The kid had a juice box, so you know how that goes. One thing led to another. Before Kim could get from her house literally down the street, there's people beating these dogs with baseball bats, hitting them with cars. Just chaos, utter chaos. And in the fray, yeah, somebody got bit, but the injuries that are supposed to be from the dogs don't add up. The animal control officer was a little overzealous, to say the least. Kato went to the hospital. He almost died from the beating he got. They were put on quarantine. Quarantine basically is 14 days for a bite. At the end of the 14 days, Kim was issued a destruction order out of nowhere. And since October of 2012, Kato and Kleo have basically been on death row. Nothing anyone has been able to do up until now has swayed either the local ACO in Hamden or the state ACO who was involved. There's been numerous court dates. Kim's gone through one inadequate lawyer after another. She has been devoted to these dogs and fighting literally for their lives. Just has been one heartache after another for the story of Kato and Kleo. On Tuesday, which is May 10th, there is a court date in the Connecticut Appellate Court at 10 a.m. You're asked if you can show up to be there at 9 a.m. Kim needs all the support you can get to her. Kato and Kleo need all the support they can get to save their lives. You're asked to be there at 9 a.m. if you can be, to gather outside the courtroom or outside the courthouse. Signs, if you've got your Kato and Kleo t-shirts, by all means wear them. Signs should say, free Kato and Kleo. You just really, support right now is one of the most critical things. Even with all the phone calls and the emails and everything else that's been done, there's been a petition, which this would be the time to present it, but this is probably it. And, there really should be as much of a show as possible after all this time. I don't know what anybody's thinking, like maybe this was swept under the carpet, Kim would go away, people would forget about it, but we've got to show that we have not forgotten about Kato and Kleo, and that we're not going to forget. And no matter what happens, we're not going to let it go, and we're not going to forget. Kim's mom has recently passed, and she passed without ever having resolved to this, without ever having Kato and Kleo home. Kato and Kleo were her comfort. Kato was her heart dog. And what a horrible thing to die and never get the resolve that should have been. This never should have happened. Zach, let's get the pictures for Kato and Kleo up. These are the dogs, that have been deemed vicious. These are the dogs that have been issued a destruction order. Look at them. Come on. They are beautiful. They are loving. Kim has devoted so much of her time visiting and trying to make sure that these dogs stay whole and healthy. The sad thing is that, the visits, this is how they're living. Come on. That's no life for an animal, They're in an animal control facility in a run that is really only meant to be a temporary thing. And they've been there since 2012. It's just unheard of that they should have to be stuck like this and not in their home. There's no reason for it. This is Kim's mom with Kato and Kleo. I think she got to visit them all of once. And, you can tell by this picture the love that she has for them and the calm demeanor that Kato and Kleo had with her. How are these dogs vicious? It just defies logic that vicious dogs would sit with a woman in a wheelchair and just dote on her and pay this kind of attention and show her that gentleness that is in their heart. And, the sad part is that over time, Kim has been threatened with her visitation rights. She's been granted them. They've been taken away. Here they are on Christmas. This was Christmas. They get toys and presents, but they don't get to go home. It's not right. Kim brings them toys, and she tries, like I said, to keep them whole and healthy. They've had, sores, and they've had, if you look at their teeth, they're chewing on the wires. It's an ugly thing. Kim literally pays for their medical. She brings their food. She cooks for them. She's doing everything she can, and it's just a travesty. It really, really is. It's been a difficult journey. There's no reason for it. if you can be in court on the 10th, that would be a wonderful thing. And I know that it would be very important and mean the world to Kim to have your support. Again, it's 9 a.m. It's a peaceful gathering. Bring signs that say Free Kato and Kleo. The court, the appellate court, is 75 Elm Street in Hartford. There is an event created on Facebook. There is and that event is shared both on the Posse Presents Facebook page and on Free Kato and Kleo on Facebook. On the Free Kato and Kleo page, there's also a link to the petition. I am going to try to be in touch with Kim and see if she wants to actually finally print the petition. I know it's kind of been in reserve because, I mean, it's got thousands of signatures, but there has to be a time and a place. So there's still time to sign it is where I'm trying to go with this. Go to Free Kato and Kleo, that's Kato and Kleo on Facebook. Sign that petition, like the page. If you can be in court, it would mean the world. The state's being absolutely ridiculous, and, we really need to send the message that we care. Both to Kim, to Kato and Kleo, and to everybody who has made a mess of this along the way. There's no reason for it, and like I said, this is kind of it, I think, and Kato and Kleo just need to come home. That's the bottom line. They need to go home. It's been way too long, and it's infuriating. Anyway, I will take the camera back. Zach? And in more stupid news, the state of Connecticut is really on a roll. This week, animals were dealt a real blow. Hartford Animal Control Officer Sherry DeGenova lost her job this week. Now, everyone who is anyone knows what Sherry does for her community and to help save animals. She's been here in the studio with Laurel. When Laurel's come on, she did, a quick hello one time. You've met her. She's wonderful. There's, not too many people who can do the job that she does and remain passionate. If anything, I think that, her determination and her dedication has probably increased over the years. She hasn't let it wear her down. She's been doing the animal control officer for 17 years. She's been doing that job. That's a really long time. She's one of the good ones. She's probably, if you ask a lot of people, she's the example that animal control officers should try to follow. Not only does she get the sick and the injured off the streets, she goes above and beyond doing that, but she goes above and beyond working within the confines of the strict setup that Hartford has for getting dogs out of the pound. They have literally 9-10 days they have to be out, or there's a kill order. So Sherry works with her volunteers, her countless dedicated volunteers, to do everything they can to get these animals adopted before their time is up. It's a very short window. Every animal in a pound, the clock ticks the minute they walk in, but in Hartford, the rules are different. Sherry founded her own organization, Kenway's Cause, to further help the animals, to help vet them, the ones that the city can't afford to pay for. It's just crazy to think that her job would be on the chopping block. Sure, yeah, she's at the top of tier, 17 years. Let's get rid of, keep just the new ones and get rid of the old people. But that's not the way it should work. It's created a firestorm of media attention and, calls and emails to the Hartford mayor and to the governor, to no avail so far. There's a petition circulating to get her job back. There's all kinds of things going on. And the really sad thing is the governor is sending out a stock response saying, oh, it's not personal and, this and that. You know what? It may not, your decision may not have been personal as far as Sherry is concerned, but you better believe it's mighty personal to the dogs who are now going to die because she's not there. Nobody's going to care as much as she did. I don't care who's there. Nobody's going to care as much as she did about having every option to make sure that these animals were not only placed, but placed well. There's an application process. There was a lot that she did to make sure that these animals were taken care of. She stood by them, and she has to get back to work. She has to. The Hartford City Council has a meeting on Monday night. Prior to the meeting, there will be a walk. Zach, let's get that picture up. There will be a walk to the City Hall starting from the iHeartRadio studio building at 4:30. They'll proceed to City Hall where the meeting will start at 6. Speakers must sign up at 5:30. And, if you can go, again, bring signs. It's a peaceful gathering. There will be this walk. I hope that a lot of people show up. Again, emails have been pretty much just a stock response and really not very satisfying. Again, they may think that it's not personal, but it certainly is to people who know better. And, Sherry really needs to get back to work because there's going to be nobody that can fill her shoes. So the information has been shared during the week on the Posse Presents Facebook page. You can still go to the Hartford Animal Shelter Facebook page to get your updates and instructions on anything new you can do. But really, another ridiculous move. The state squeezing the cities, the city squeezing the employees, and, no regard to who or what is going to suffer. And it's just nonsense. I will take the camera back for a moment. And there is a dog that I have been talking about. I've brought him up on the show a few times now, and we've got some good news. Let's go with those pictures, Zach. I got to see this post from Duffy this week, who is the senior pity in the town of Hempstead Animal Shelter. Speedo's just like all glowing over there. The poor guy's got cancer, and we just wanted to see him in a home. Nobody knows how it's going to roll. You don't when animal or human has cancer. You don't know how well he's going to do, how long he's going to be well, how sick. You don't know. So for him to be in a home, for whatever his end of life is, whether it's, weeks, months, years, it could be, is just amazing, and it's all anybody wanted for him. Many thanks to the amazing volunteers at the town of Hempstead Animal Shelter. They are such a devoted bunch, and I'm so proud to be able to help them in any way that I can. Let's get the next picture. This is definitely one of the most beautiful pictures I've seen in a long time. I see two smiles there that are just, miles wide. Look at this. Many thanks to this woman who brought Duffy into her home. She's a very brave person, and I say brave because, again, she doesn't know what she's getting into. There's no way she's not going to fall in love with him. I'm sure she already is, and, of course, sooner than later, I'm sure she's going to have her heart broken. It's one thing to adopt an older dog and you know that you have a finite amount of time left. But his time or his lack of it is accelerated only due to his health. And again, it's a wild card. You don't know how it's going to play out. But look at how happy the two of them seem to be already. It's just amazing, and it makes my heart swell because this is what we live for. It's really what we live for. Anyway, this path that Duffy has to travel, he now doesn't have to travel alone. These two will travel it together, and it's going to be a beautiful thing. Let's rush into the next pictures very quickly. My boy Diesel from Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter, who loves his belly rubs, was voted Dog of the Month, which is quite an honor. The volunteers literally vote, and Diesel was selected. You can breeze through these. There is the poster for Pet of the Month. As Pet of the Month, his adoption fee is waived. I guess they pick a cat and a dog, so there's both picks. Diesel will be free, but not easy. You still have to submit your application and be approved. Check out Diesel Deserves a Forever Home on Facebook. That is his Facebook page. And stay tuned for anything, any updates, and he posts every day, or almost every day. He's got, his personal assistant at the shelter, and he's got his PR manager, and, everybody tries to do their best. If you are interested in finding out more about Diesel, call 516-785-5220. That's 516-785-5220. Or email animalinfo@tohmail.org. animalinfo@tohmail.org. And yes, here we go. This is about a month away, but I'm going to give you the heads up now. The Naugatuck Valley Kennel Club is the sponsor of a free rabies clinic, which is going to be held at the Watertown Firehouse, 935 Main Street. There's a 3-pet limit, and that's on June 4th from 10 to 4, or until 400 vaccinations are given out. We'll talk about that some more. I'm out of time. I'm going to say peace, love, and dogs. Until next week, thank you for watching, and good night.